Most people walk through museums, glance at Egyptian art, and move on, believing it's simply decorative, symbolic, or religious. But what if that's exactly what they want you to think? Because for thousands of years, Egyptian art wasn't art. It was code. Every line, every proportion, every color carried hidden meaning, an ancient language of symbols designed not just to be seen, but to be read. And this language wasn't meant for the masses. It was created for initiates, those trained to decode its messages. The truth is hidden in plain sight, the Egyptian priests used to say. And nowhere is this more true than in their art. Look closer at the walls of a temple, the positioning of hands, the angle of the body, the object being held, the direction of the eyes. None of it is random. Together, these elements reveal teachings about the nature of reality, the structure of the human being, and the path of the soul. And here's the shocking part. Much of this wisdom aligns with modern discoveries in quantum physics, sacred geometry, and consciousness studies. But why would such knowledge be encoded in art? Because words can be burned, scrolls can be destroyed, but symbols survive. They bypass censorship and embed themselves in the collective mind, waiting for those ready to understand. And today, more people than ever are awakening to this ancient language. The question is, will you be one of them? Stay with this. In the next parts, you'll begin to see Egyptian art as it was meant to be seen, as a living library of cosmic wisdom. The key to decoding Egyptian art lies in understanding one simple truth. It was never meant to represent reality. It was meant to encode truth about reality. Look at how figures are drawn, always in profile, with the torso twisted forward, eyes full front. Strange? No, intentional. Each position reveals symbolic meaning. The head turned sideways represents thought, aligned with the linear path of time. The torso facing forward represents presence, the eternal now. The eye facing outwards represents awareness, conscious observation of reality. Together, they encode a teaching. To walk the path of the initiate, one must balance thought, presence, and awareness. But that's just the beginning. Every gesture, every object, every glyph around the figures deepens the message. When a figure holds an ankh, it is not holding life. It is transmitting the teaching of eternal life through balanced polarity. When the Wa's scepter appears, it signals mastery over vibrational energy, not political power. Even the lotus, so often dismissed as decoration, encodes the cycle of consciousness, from darkness, the mud, through growth, the stalk, to enlightenment, the bloom. And colors? In Egyptian art, colors were frequencies, each chosen to resonate with specific energetic qualities. Green for regeneration and vitality, blue for divine wisdom and cosmic order, red for life force and grounded energy, gold for eternal spirit beyond time. When you begin to read Egyptian art this way, it transforms. You no longer see a frozen image. You see an interactive diagram of the universe and your place within it. And this is why the ancient initiates trained for years to read the temples, not as tourists, but as students of the cosmic language. Now the question is, are you ready to begin reading what has been hidden in plain sight? One of the most profound layers of Egyptian art is its teaching about the human being itself. Because to the ancient Egyptians, the human body wasn't just a biological machine. It was a temple, a microcosm of the universe, and the art reflected this truth. Look closely at the proportions of the figures. They follow precise ratios, not to depict anatomy, but to encode the geometry of subtle energy centers within the body. The navel aligns with the golden mean, symbolizing the gateway between material and spiritual forces. The outstretched arms form the cosmic cross, representing the intersection of time and timelessness. The spine is always emphasized subtly, signaling the path of the Decode pillar, the awakened, stable energy column that allows consciousness to ascend. But it goes deeper. Many scenes show figures interacting with deities, not as distant gods, but as aspects of the self. Thoth, the scribe of the gods, represents higher mind, intuition beyond intellect. Isis embodies the awakened heart, compassion fused with wisdom. Osiris symbolizes the immortal self, consciousness transcending the physical form. To the untrained eye, these are mythological figures. To the initiate, they are instructions for inner development. Even the famous weighing of the heart scene, so often interpreted literally, is a coded teaching. Only a heart light with truth and coherence can pass into higher realms. The feather of Ma'at isn't just morality, it is alignment with cosmic order. And Egyptian art was a training ground for such alignment. The temples weren't museums. They were interactive learning environments where art served as a guide for transformation. And here's the part that's rarely taught. Much of this knowledge was never written down. It was transmitted through seeing, through learning to decode the visual language embedded in stone and color. This is why the symbols still pulse with power today, because the art isn't static. It is a living technology, waiting for those who remember how to read it. The question is, are you ready to see what has been hidden all along? If Egyptian art encodes the structure of the human being, it also encodes something even greater, the structure of the cosmos. Because the Egyptians didn't see the universe as empty space, they saw it as a living field of consciousness, and their art reflected this cosmic view. Look at temple ceilings, star maps, zodiac signs, cosmic boats sailing through the sky. These were not primitive astronomy, they were visual equations, mapping the interaction between celestial forces and human destiny. The famous Dendera zodiac encodes not only planetary alignments, but cycles of consciousness, ages of light and shadow that affect collective evolution. Why was this knowledge hidden in art? Because the cycles could be suppressed, but not erased. By embedding them in visual symbols, the Egyptians ensured that future generations could recover the keys. And this pattern repeats everywhere. The posture of the goddess Nut, arched across the sky, represents not just the heavens, but the energetic membrane through which higher frequencies filter into Earth. The solar bark of Ra, traveling through the underworld, symbolizes the journey of consciousness through dimensions, not literal boats. And the scarab, it is not an insect idol. It represents the self-regenerating force of life, the quantum field constantly renewing itself through intention. Every glyph, Every image is a node in this vast language, and the most advanced initiates could read entire cosmic teachings in a single scene, activating inner remembrance beyond words. Now imagine this. For thousands of years, this knowledge was encoded in stone, surviving cataclysms, conquests, censorship. Why? Because some truths are too important to leave unguarded. And today, more people than ever are decoding these messages, not as superstition, but as ancient science. As we continue, you'll see how Egyptian art contains not just cosmic teachings, but practical instructions for elevating your own vibration. Stay with this. The next keys may surprise you. It's one thing to admire the beauty of Egyptian art. It's another to understand that it contains practical tools for transformation, still usable today. Because at its core, this art encodes a system for raising personal vibration, and this is where it becomes relevant to your life. Every Egyptian temple was designed as a vibrational tuning chamber. The proportions of the columns, the spacing of the walls, the angles of the reliefs, all of it was calibrated to create an energetic field, one that subtly shifted the consciousness of those inside. And the art on the walls? It wasn't just decoration. It was an interactive interface, guiding initiates through progressive stages of inner awakening. Figures in different postures represent stages of energetic alignment. Scenes of offerings depict the process of balancing inner elements: mind, emotion, body, spirit. The repeated presence of the Eye of Horus teaches focus, training the initiate to direct awareness like a laser. And here's the key. This wasn't meant for passive observation. It was meant to activate you. Ancient initiates would meditate on these symbols, using breath and visualization to resonate with the encoded frequencies. Over time, this practice would shift their state, bringing coherence between heart and mind, body and field. And modern neuroscience now validates this. Focused visual meditation alters brain waves, increases heart coherence, and elevates mood and cognition. The Egyptians knew this millennia ago, and their art was a tool for accessing it. So how can you begin? Next time you see Egyptian art, online or in person, don't just look. Feel. Let the symbols speak. Notice how your body responds, where your breath flows, what thoughts arise, because the language is still active. And if you approach it with the right intention, it can awaken dimensions of your being long forgotten. As we go deeper, you'll discover even more hidden layers, and why this ancient knowledge is resurfacing now when humanity needs it most. Stay tuned. The journey is just beginning. If Egyptian art encodes such profound knowledge, why don't we hear this in history books? Why are these teachings not part of mainstream education? Because for centuries, this knowledge was deliberately suppressed. After the decline of the Egyptian mystery schools, their wisdom was seen as a threat, first by imperial forces, later by religious institutions. Why? Because this knowledge empowers the individual. It teaches that consciousness shapes reality, that each person holds within them the blueprint of the cosmos, that spiritual sovereignty is the birthright of all. Such truths undermine systems built on fear and control. And so, the outer forms of Egyptian art were preserved, but the inner meanings were obscured. Tourists now wander through temples without guidance. Scholars describe the art as mythology, ignoring its function as vibrational technology. But here's the twist. The symbols were designed to survive this forgetting. Their frequencies still resonate. Their geometry still aligns with universal principles. And those who feel the call can still unlock them. That is why this knowledge is resurfacing now. In an age of disconnection, it offers a path to inner coherence. In an era of division, it reminds us of our unity with all life. And those who control the narrative know this. That's why they trivialize ancient wisdom, labeling it superstition or fantasy. But the art itself tells a different story. It speaks across time to those ready to hear. And if you feel the resonance, you are one of them. Because this awakening cannot be stopped. The question is, will you remember what has been hidden in plain sight? As we continue, you'll see how this ancient language is more relevant now than ever, and how it can empower your journey today. Stay tuned. The deeper keys await. So how can this ancient knowledge empower your life today? The first step is simple. Shift from passive observer to active participant. Egyptian art was never meant to be understood intellectually. It was meant to be experienced. When you engage with these symbols consciously, they begin to work on you, activating deeper layers of awareness. Here's how you can start. Choose a symbol, an ankh, an eye of Horus, a temple scene. Sit with it. Quiet your mind, breathe deeply. Observe without analysis. Let the image speak to your subconscious. Notice shifts in thought, emotion, bodily sensation. Over time, you'll begin to perceive the vibrational language encoded in the forms. This is not imagination. It is entrainment. Your nervous system begins to resonate with the frequencies embedded in the art. And as coherence increases, new insights emerge spontaneously. But the process goes deeper. You can also use Egyptian art as a mirror for inner alignment. When drawn to a particular symbol, ask, what aspect of myself is this activating? For example, the ankh invites balance between polarities. The scarab encourages self-renewal. The lotus signals unfolding consciousness. The solar disk awakens higher will. Each symbol is a gateway, and as you integrate these frequencies, you naturally elevate your vibration. The impact: greater mental clarity, emotional balance, increased intuition, stronger sense of purpose. In other words, the qualities ancient initiates cultivated for navigating both inner and outer worlds. And the more individuals who embody this state, the more the collective field shifts. Because here's the deeper truth. This knowledge was never about the past. It was seeded for the future. For this moment, when humanity is poised between forgetting and remembering. And you are part of that remembering. As we continue, you'll discover how Egyptian art also encodes the path of collective awakening and why this path is accelerating now. Stay tuned. The next keys are crucial. If you felt a pull toward these symbols, know this. You are not alone. Across the planet, people from all backgrounds are awakening to the deeper layers of Egyptian art, not as curiosity, but as living wisdom. Why now? Because we are approaching a pivotal shift. For centuries, this knowledge remained dormant, hidden behind myth, dismissed by academia, distorted by popular culture. But symbols carry frequency, And when the collective frequency rises high enough, the symbols begin to speak again. This is what's happening now. In meditation groups, in energy healing circles, in conscious communities. Ancient Egyptian symbols are reappearing, not as fashion, but as activators, because they encode universal principles that transcend culture and time. And as more people align with these principles, coherence, balance, sovereignty, unity, the global field shifts. This is no accident. The temples themselves predicted this cycle. When the time of great forgetting ends, the symbols shall awaken those ready to embody the one law. We are living that prophecy, and you, watching this now, are part of its fulfillment. But the path requires discernment. Many will commercialize these teachings. Many will dilute them into empty trends. Your task is to stay aligned with their deeper essence. Seek direct experience, not borrowed belief. Cultivate inner coherence, not external validation. Embody the wisdom through action, not words alone. And remember, every small act of alignment adds to the collective resonance. When enough of us embody these frequencies, the tipping point arrives. A new renaissance, rooted in ancient knowing, begins. And Egyptian art is one of its catalysts. So trust what draws you. Follow the symbols that speak to your soul, and know that by doing so, you are part of a global awakening. As we approach the final parts of this journey, you'll see how this process is accelerating, and how your role in it is more vital than ever. Stay with this. The deeper current is rising. You may feel like you've stumbled onto this knowledge by chance, but understand this. There are no coincidences in the awakening process. If these symbols speak to you, it is because a deeper part of you remembers them. This is the nature of living wisdom. Egyptian art was designed to bypass the rational mind and awaken the deeper intelligence within. And now, as the collective frequency of humanity rises, more and more are feeling this resonance. You are not alone. Across continents, languages, and traditions, a quiet network of awakening souls is forming. People who are reclaiming ancient wisdom. People who are aligning thought, word, and action with the one law. People who are weaving a new story for humanity. And this is the deeper meaning of decoding Egyptian art. It is not about the past. It is about the future we are co-creating. Each symbol you resonate with, each insight you embody, adds to the collective field. And the stronger this field becomes, the harder it is for old systems of fear and control to persist. This is why the art was encoded in stone, because stone endures, and so does the truth it carries. Now it is your turn to carry it forward, not through preaching, but through living. Walk as a living temple, the old teachings say. Let your life reflect the balance, harmony, and truth encoded in the sacred symbols. And remember, you are not just decoding Egyptian art, you are decoding yourself. The more you align with these universal patterns, the more your true nature reveals itself. And through this process, the collective awakening accelerates. As we move to the final part of this journey, you'll see how this is already happening, and how your voice, your presence, your coherence can amplify the wave. Stay with this. The next step is yours to take. You've come far. Farther than most, because decoding Egyptian art is not about symbols on stone. It is about decoding the deeper architecture of reality and your place within it. Now you know, the human body is a temple. The cosmos is a living field. Symbols are bridges between the two, and Egyptian art encodes this timeless truth. But knowing is only the first step. He who sees the path must also walk it, say the ancient teachings. So what does walking the path look like? It begins with presence. The more consciously you engage with the symbols, the more you align with their frequencies, the more your inner field transforms. Thoughts become clearer, emotions more coherent, actions more aligned, and through this alignment, your life becomes a living temple, a beacon in a world that so often forgets. And here is the deeper invitation. Do not walk this path alone. Just as Egyptian art speaks across time, so too does the resonance you embody ripple outward. Each time you share what you've discovered, each conversation you spark, adds to the collective remembering. So speak. Comment below what resonated most with you. Your voice may activate someone else. And if this journey stirred something deeper, consider sharing it with one who is ready. Because the symbols were never meant to remain on walls. They were meant to live through us. When the many awaken, the ancient wisdom shall breathe again. That time is now, and you are part of it.